Welcome, myself Darshini JS, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Government Facility College, Karapuram, Bangalore. This is the first session on public economics. Public economics, this paper is prescribed for BA students, 4th semester BA students. Colleges come under Bengaluru North University. Then what is public economics? Public economics is one of the branches of economics, and public finance is a part of public economics. The fundamental principle of public economics is to maximize the social welfare, maximize the social advantage of the society as a whole. Overall economic management is the major subject matter of public economics. So, the study of public economics is very much essential to understand how the fiscal operations of the government influence on economic growth. Being a part of public economics, public finance is concerned with revenue and expenditure part, and here how the government raises revenue and how government spends on several social economic aids. As we know, fiscal policy is nothing but a policy of the government with respect to revenue, spending, and deficit financing. Deficit financing is the gap, the existing gap between the revenue and spending is filled with borrowing resources, revenue from different sources. There are different methods in that. Overall, fiscal operations are utilized or used by the government to influence the level of income, distribution, investment, allocation of resources, and enhance the standard of living. Overall, with this, it can impact on economic growth. There are different definitions on public finance. Economists define public finance in their own way among. As per Dalton, it deals with the income and expenditure of public authorities and with the adjustment of one to another. And as per J.K. Mehta, public finance constitutes a study of the monetary and credit resources of the state. Then come to the nature, scope and importance of public finance. The scope and importance of public finance can be broadly categorized in three different types among. The first one is functions of the state. In this, there are three views: classicalist views, Keynesian, Musgrave's views. Starting from the classicalist to modern economist, they explain their own way what should be the level of government interference, what should be the level of government role in economic activities. As per the classicalist view, they supported the policy of laissez-faire policy. As per the classicalist, government should restrict its functions to provide justice and to maintain and provide security to its people. As per the classical economist, public expenditure is unproductive in nature and taxes imposed by the government are evil in nature because it reduces the purchasing power among people and even it enhances public disutility. So, as per the classical economist, government should restrict itself to justice, providing justice and providing security to its citizens. Keynesian view. His thoughts gained more prominence in the post-recession period from 1929. As per Keynes, government should interfere in economic activities in order to enhance, stimulate effective demand, which is very much essential to create more employment opportunities and to make huge investment to have sustainable and stable growth. He supported more government intervention in economic activities, and as per Keynes, fiscal policy plays a very important role in the process of growth. As Keynes says, budget is an effective tool. As per Keynes, budget is an effective tool to create more employment opportunities, to make huge investments, to give big push for investment from the side of government, and to maintain economic stability. Let's come to Musgrave view. As per Musgrave, there are three important responsibilities of public finance, policy. One is allocation of resources, equitable distribution of resources, and maintenance of economic stability and growth. Starting from classical economist to modern economist views, we can notice with the emergence of the concept of welfare, the modern states are called welfare states. With that, governments have enormous duties to function. In recent decades, downsizing of economic activities, downsizing of government intervention in economic activities, and also the emergence of public-private partnership in each and every sectors can be noticed. Even though government still plays a very important role in the allocation of resources, mainly which are in scale. In the proper allocation of resources, government plays a very important role as a facilitator and as a major provider of public goods. The second one is the effects of fiscal operations on economic growth and development. As we know that fiscal operations are nothing but revenue and expenditure part of the government. In order to create social economic overheads, equitable distribution of resources, make huge investments, make long-term investment, and to attain economic stability and allocation of resources in an equitable manner and accelerate economic growth and development are the major objectives of fiscal operations. Third one is the subject matters of public finance. As we know that public finance, it deals with public revenue, public expenditure, public debt, budget, federal finance. The first one is public revenue. Revenue is very much essential to enhance public spending. Public spending is very much essential to attain growth. So thus, the source of revenue, the nature of revenue influence the volume of spending and the nature of spending and the quality of spending. Overall total revenue can be broadly categorized as taxes and non-tax revenue sources, and mainly based on their nature. Total revenue can be categorized as obligatory and non-obligatory sources of revenue. The best example for non-obligatory source of revenue is own revenue, own sources of revenue. And in the federal setup, intergovernmental transfers, in that state taxes and central grants are non-obligatory sources of revenue. No need to repay. And states are collecting their own sources of revenue. Central is collecting its own revenue. They are non-obligatory sources. The non-obligatory sources of revenue give more power, more autonomy for the respective governments to decide and what should be the proportion of spending and what should be the nature of spending. They get more prominence and they get more liberty to spend. That is the unique feature of non-obligatory sources of revenue. Come to the obligatory sources of revenue. Government has to repay the amount along with interest. Best example for obligatory source of revenue, public debt. In that way, we can notice market borrowings, public account borrowings. These are the examples for obligatory source of revenue. In recent years, compared to both obligatory and non-obligatory source of revenue, the share of obligatory source of revenue is rising, and states are becoming more and more dependent on external sources of revenue or obligatory sources of revenue. So in this, what are the principles followed in collecting the revenue? Taxes. Revenue includes both taxes and non-tax sources. And what is the incidence of taxes? What is the level of elasticity of different types of taxes? And what are the problems and challenges involved in that? And what type of reforms which are in need are the major factors come under public revenue. Public expenditure. The expenses incurred by the government from the point of welfare of the society is public expenditure. Expenditure plays a very important role because in order to improve, in order to accelerate the growth process, government has to come up with several types of spending. It has to spend on several economic activities. It has to spend on several social activities. Here, total expenditure can be categorized into two. One is development and non-development. And recently it is removed. That concept has been removed in India. Excluding that concept, if you look into the nature of public expenditure, some expenditure are committed like pension, salary, and some are discretionary expending. Some discretionary means it gives more freedom for the states to spending. They can spend more on economic activities, and they can spend more on social activities, or in social activities they can spend more on health, they can spend more on education, so on. Here, what are the principles followed while making the public expenditure? What are all the effects of public spending? So what is the volume of different types of spending? And what are all the problems and challenges involved in that? And reforms which are in need are the major factors come under public expenditure. The third one is public debt. As I told, with larger the budgetary gap, with larger the basic resource gap, basic resource is nothing but total expenditure minus one source revenue. With larger the gap, with rising the volume of spending or decreasing the volume of revenue collection, enhance budgetary spending, budgetary gap. Such gap necessitates public borrowing. In recent years, governments are depending more and more on public borrowing because of several expenditure side and revenue side constraints, factors. In this, what is the necessity to go for public borrowing? What are the different sources? What is the composition of borrowing? How the nature of borrowing has changed over the period of time? and what are the types of borrowing, and what are all the ways, from which ways, several ways government can get money, can borrow money. So what are the different ways, and what are the problems and challenges involved in that, and what type of reforms which are in need are the subject matters or the factors come under public debt. The fourth one is budget. Budget is nothing but annual financial statement. In budget, we come across with different types of budgets: surplus budget, deficit budget, balanced budget. Larger the deficit necessitates governments to move towards more borrowing. In that, what type of deficit situation exists and what type of different types of deficits exist, and what is the role of deficit financing in the economic growth, how it impact on the growth process, and what are the problems and challenges involved in that, and what are the reforms which are in need, are the major factors come under budget. In recent years, governments are they're coming with different types of budgeting: performance budgeting, zero-based budgeting. So these are the several reforms we can notice. So these are the major concepts come under budget. The last one is federal finance. In any federal setup, we come across with different tiers of government: central government, state government, local self-government. Overall, we can say central government and combining the states and local self-government as subnational governments. In federal finance, it deals with the fiscal and financial relationship between central and subnational governments. In federal setup, we come across with several complexities with respect to federal finance. As we know, in the constitution itself, we can notice division of power. Division of power between different tiers of government can be noticed. Constitution itself facilitates. So in this, because of asymmetry in the process of development, asymmetry in the process of growth, vertical and horizontal imbalances commonly exist between different tiers of government. So in order to reduce such imbalance, government come up with some institutional measures, some institutional reforms to allocate revenue. From divisible pool is used to allocate revenue between central and subnational governments in order to reduce such horizontal and vertical imbalance and promote growth. So in that, we come across with several problems and several challenges involved in that. So in the meanwhile, we need to come up with several reform measures, time to time reform measures, in order to maintain stability, maintain peace in the federal setup. So these are the major factors we are going to study in federal finance. So what is the extent of vertical imbalance? What is the extent of horizontal imbalance? How it can be corrected? What are all the institutions, measures taken by the government in order to reduce such imbalances? What are the criteria followed in the allocation of resources? How the resources are shared between central and subnational governments? What are the complexities involved in that? What are the problems and challenges the government come up with? Changed economic setup and based on the demands, changing environment, the problems, the challenges also enhance. So in order to solve that problems and challenges, reforms are very much essential. In that, Government has to come up with several reforms with respect to revenue, with respect to spending, and how to share revenue in a federal setup, and what type of reforms are really which are in need to reduce fiscal burden on the government, to improve the quality of, through improving the quality of public debt. These are all the major factors we study in public finance. This is the overall scope and importance of public finance. So far we discussed the nature, scope and importance of public finance. Here in this paper, the public economics, we come across with 4 modules. I will let you know one by one module. In the first module mainly focus on the nature and scope of public economics. As I already explained, what is public economics, what is public finance, what is the nature, scope and importance of public economics and public finance. So mainly, whether it is a public finance or public economics, public finance is a part of public economics. It mainly focuses on the fiscal operations of the government, how it leads to economic growth. So overall objective of the government is to maximize the social welfare. In that, it has to make several investments, several spending on social and economic overheads, and in the meanwhile, in order to make such investment, government has to collect revenue from different sources. If any gap exists, basic resource gap exists. So deficit finance is used to fill that gap. This is a major concept what we study as a nature and scope of public finance and economics. Next, come to the market failure. In the first chapter, we are also going to study what is market failure, why it exists, what does it mean, and what are all the factors causes market failure and how it can be corrected with government intervention. Then the next concept is externalities. What is externalities? What are the types of externalities exist and how it impact on market failure? Because externalities are very relevant in recent years because of changing economic and social conditions. With the process of growth, economic stability and sustainable environment are prerequisite, are very much essential. In that, externalities play a very much essential. They play a very important role in the process of sustainable growth, sustainable development. And the public goods, these are social goods, commonly consumable goods. So what are all the different types of public goods, how it can be categorized, importance, why the government play a major role in providing public goods, what are all its merits and demerits, how the public goods differ from the private goods. These are the major concepts come under public goods we will study in the next class. And the next one is maximum social advantage theory. This theory mainly focuses what should be the level of government interference and what should be the level of fiscal operation of the government to maximize the social welfare. And the last one is the role of government in the changing economic environment. With the emergence of the concept of welfare, the role of government changed over the period of time, and in recent decades, little more changes happened with respect to the government intervention in economic activities. The role of government is keep on changing with the changing economic environment. So we'll discuss what extent the government can interfere in economic activities, what are the major activities, what are the roles the government can play in the process of growth and all. All these concepts come under the first chapter. The second chapter, the public revenue, And the third one is public expenditure, and fourth one is public debt. Especially these three chapters, modules, we will understand relating to India. We consider the central government, state government, and some extent the locals of government. We mainly focus on how the public revenue, how the public expenditure and public debt, the nature, and what are the problems and what type of reforms involved in that. We mainly focus in the Indian, considering the Indian context. So in the public revenue, we will study what are the sources of public revenue. Regarding taxation, in that we come across with taxes, non-tax revenue sources. And in that, direct taxes, indirect taxes, what are all the merits and demerits involved in that, canons of taxation, incidence of taxation, taxable capacity, and what should be the optimum level of taxation, and what are the constraints involved, and what are the problems the government are facing in collecting the taxes, non-tax sources of revenue, and what are the recent reforms, especially in that we focus on VAT and GST, and to some extent we will focus on ethical recommendation regarding tax reforms. In the third chapter, we will be discussing on sources of public expenditure, classification, what are the different types of public expenditure, what is Wagner law, and what is the impact or how it impact on economic growth, the public expenditure, how it impact, is it essential, why in recent years public expenditure is increasing in recent years, what are the causes for that, and what type of reforms which are really in need. Considering the FRBM Act, which mainly focus on fiscal consolidation. In that, fiscal consolidation mainly focus both on the revenue and expenditure part, how the governments can improve the quality of spending, and how the governments can improve the tax, widen the tax base, how can they come up with several reforms in the process of revenue collection, in the collection of taxes and non-tax revenue. And the last chapter, we are going to study on public debt. So larger the basic resource gap necessitate public debt. So in that we are going to study what is public debt, why it is essential, what are all the sources of public debt and classification, and what is the impact, economic impact of public debt on growth. So what is public burden and impact of public burden on the future generation, and methods of redemption of public debt. So these concepts we are going to study in the last chapter of public debt. So far I discussed the nature, scope and importance of public finance, and what are all the chapters we are going to study in the coming sessions. So with this I will conclude this session. In the next session I will focus on market failure.